All right, welcome back to another episode of Knicks Morning Coffee Recap. My name is Mr. King, one half of the duo of the Knicks Morning Coffee Show with my partner Joe Cool. Please check us out, like, comment, subscribe. Always want to hear what people got to say, especially this time of year. Let's just jump right back into it. Before we do, first I gotta say, the NBA gotta rethink this MVP voting because we can't take away what Shea did this year, or we can't take away what Wemby did the other night. But the display Brunson put on last night, he's got to start now, maybe being answered, in that clutch performer of some of our greats. But before we get to that, anyway, we got to look at, the whole topic of rest versus rust, and was that real? That's a real thing. It's just a matter of how much rest and how rusty were they. And we came out kind of like what people expected. You didn't expect all the timing to be on point. And then Cleveland, they helped themselves by coming out with the hot hands. Now, one of the things that Wally said in the Knicks pregame show, which I agreed with, was that we couldn't let them come out and let their shooters get started and get warmed up early. And that's what we did. But the mistake we made was, trying to trap and double team Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell not going to beat you by himself. And we fell into that trap. And yeah, he was hot early. And we put the extra bodies on them, but we gave them too many looks, and then we just left their shooters wide open, and then they just picked us apart. But before they did that, we went on a little mini 11-3 run in the first quarter, and then going into the second quarter, then they just started like picking the pace up on us and sucking us into this Donovan Mitchell love affair, where we tried to trap him on every single play once he crossed half court, and he just picked our guys apart, finding open man after open man, and then they were just hitting shot after shot. So I have to give credit to Cleveland for the course of the game, because what they decided to do was that this whole thing about Karl Anthony Towns, being this all of a sudden great quarterback and standing at the top of the key and picking people apart, they wasn't going to allow that to happen. So what they did was that they stayed on our shooters. So our cutters wasn't able to break free and cut loose, so that Towns could find those open men. And only thing I thought we could just adjust it by, if you see that 3-4 seconds tick off the clock and nobody broke free, Towns, just take your man to the hole and do whatever it is you got to do. And we stayed with that game plan, and it was going to be all right if we knew that eventually somebody would break through for us and become a hot hand. But that really just wasn't happening. And even before the end of the game, we were still getting a steady dose of Jalen Brunson doing what he normally do. They didn't really have an answer for him either. He was doing what Brunson do. The bright spot too in the first half was that we was able to capitalize on their turnovers and get some buckets. The problem is that we were creating turnovers on the other end. So, this game told me in the first quarter, I think how this series is probably really going to go. It's going to be an epic flow of ups and downs for both teams. Lead changes, things like that, until somebody figure it out in the course of that particular game, because every game is not going to go the same. And then, move the needle ahead. But we just to jump forward, to the fourth quarter, and the defense that, we decided to wake up and get our legs up under us and just remember some of the preparation and the things that we were able to do defensively is what, kept us in the game, regardless of their, 15, 20-point lead. Our defense was starting to pick up, and then you were starting to be able to see it. Now, when we fast forward to the middle of the fourth quarter, and I told myself, in the fourth quarter, see what kind of run we could make. You see that things were starting to click, but it wasn't showing in the box score. Then when we fast forward down to below the 8 minutes, and I said to myself, if we don't get nothing going now, you gotta pull the starters and just let them rest and just suck it up for another day. And then all of a sudden, lo and behold, we got a bucket. Okay, bucket came out of nowhere. Then we got another bucket. All right, now let's see what we do down the defensive end. If we could stop down the defensive end, that's when the game started looking like a chess match, because we was coming down one-on-one with Brunson, picking on James Harden, again, doing something that we don't normally do to people. That's always, over the years, what people have always done to us. and we singled out or let me just say Brunson. I don't know if that was a coach's strategy or what it was, but it seemed like Brunson just said, you know what, I ain't going out like this. And we put James Harden in the ISO against Brunson, where we know he doesn't want to be there. He's uncomfortable. He's not even going to try to play D. And not only was Brunson being clutch in all those situations, scoring 11 out of our next 15 shots, but he also, the will of our team on the defensive end, to be able to stick with Brunson on that end and to watch him fighting through screens and making sure that he's not the one that's responsible for stopping us, the way we were stopping them to keep that alive. And who would have ever believed that for those many minutes, Cleveland would not be able to score after what they was doing in the first half. And another thing I thought about too at halftime, why we shouldn't double team Donovan Mitchell is because him and Harden, they have a whole lot to prove, about their playoff exits and their performance over the years. So their careers too are on the line in terms of legacy because they've been playoff flops. So I just thought, let Donovan just keep going, play him one-on-one, bring help occasionally to the rim because you're supposed to protect the rim. But he's not going to beat you that way, even if he gets 50. And the thing about Donovan Mitchell, when he has to score, he can't score. And that disappearing act that he put on, it was almost embarrassing. He's probably going to get some leeway from his Cleveland fans because of what he did in the last game against Detroit. But that's been the MO of both of those guys, Mitchell and Harden, in their whole careers. Let them go, because when the game is on the line for those minutes and you need it, they're not going to be there. Now, they're both capable of hitting a big shot. We're not saying that, but Cleveland has too many other shooters, real shooters, that we have to really worry about to contain than worry about one of them getting 50. And then if they have to do it, all of a sudden that rim gets real small and things get tight. But for us to play defense the way we did at the end of the game, after scoring a bucket, that says a whole lot about our character of this team, even when people probably thought it was over, because I did. You can see the fans in the stands were quiet. You can see the fans they showed outside of the Garden were quiet. It just didn't look like we had it in us. And then the Brunson burner just turned on and got hot, and then we just took it over from there. And even the clutch play, when you see it get down to 9, and 7 and 5, 4, and then the bonehead defensive play by Towns, which if we would have lost, that would have really cost him a whole lot negativity from the New York fans, because there was no need to do that. We was having our way with them. There was no need to to get into that type of a foul on the offensive end at that juncture of the game. So when it came down to the missed shot from one of their shooters, that was just the heavens telling us that we trended in the right direction for the rest of the series. Because now, was that a question of did the rust rust off, or did we just finally just get our legs under us and remember the game plan and stick to it? So I'm proud of what we did last night. I'm proud of Jalen Brunson. I'm proud of OG Anunoby, just to be out there and not try to do too much. I thought at times that we probably should have pulled him. But then he just said, forget it. If I'm going to go down, I'm going down, my way. And then he started playing the basketball the way he normally does. So kudos to the Knicks for what they did in overtime. That was a done deal by then. And kudos to the coach for that first win. And then we'll just see you on the next one. Peace.